Hi, Karen from Quantum Heart Awakening. Today we will do a Divine Feminine support reading. Yesterday we did a twin flame check-in, and the Divine Feminines were at this place where they are being called to deeper authenticity. Divine Feminine energy is being called to check inward to see where they may or may not be over boundarying themselves, where they are setting boundaries that no longer serve their highest good. Right? So yesterday, Divine Feminine energy was being called to assess whether or not their boundaries were set out of love or out of fear. I apologize for chugging along in this energy. It's really dense. Yesterday we had such a beautiful reading, and it was so joyful and celebratory and all these things. And today just feels a little bit like the hammer came down. And I'm just trying to process that energy. I'm having a lot of issues swallowing. And so for me, that's like there's a tough truth that we have to be accountable for here. I've also been clearing my throat like crazy. It just feels like there's a lump in my throat. So I haven't used this deck yet on camera, but my beloved soul sister friend gave me this deck. It's the Witch deck, and Witch stands for woman in total control of herself. Yay for that. And I just have to read from the book because these cards are so... That's the card. The Harpy of Rage. We received the Harpy of Rage in the primary position. So we are going to be looking at Divine Feminine's Divine Rage. And it's very dense energy. I'm already exhausted and I didn't even look at the cards yet. You know, before I drop into this, I'm just feeling into and trying to access discernment around, you know, what happened between yesterday and today. Like, let's get really grounded and practical about this path, about this process. And I'm trying to remember what we covered yesterday. We talked about boundaries. We talked about trusting in the divine, sitting back in our thrones and allowing this stuff to move through us without making any attachments to any of it, without having any expectations. Really dropping into that feminine receptivity and surrender. So what's interesting about this is in this sacred spot of surrender, all of today's density has arrived. So the work is still the same, right? Divine feminines, sit on your throne. You know, meet them at the door, meet these guests at the door laughing. And just receive. Receive without any call to action. Receive without any call to attach or to fix or to explain or to cut and paste the situation. Okay. You know, I have an instant headache. I'm going to take this slow. I could pause this and re-record. I'm not going to. This is the mess. This is the holy, sacred mess, and we're going to get into it. So I'm going to read this to you out of the book. Okay, so we have the Harpy of Rage. You know what's crazy? Sorry, side note. I can't even sit up straight. It feels like all of a sudden there's someone put 100 pounds of weight on my shoulders, and I feel like I'm just being pulled down to the floor. Whew, geez. Talk about dense energy. Okay. The Harpy of Rage. Rage can be purifying. Like the harpies of Homeric poems, rage can bring the storm winds that scour and wipe a landscape clean. While this may seem a destructive force on the surface, rage, like the harpies, can bring change and shift landscapes both internal and external. Quiet or loud, a wild howl or a hiss in the dark, anger is both purposeful and natural. So stop bottling it and shoving it away in order to be pleasing. The most powerful witch gathers her rage rather than shrieking into the wind where her passion can be swallowed. She will find her branch and settle into a position of power. Using her authority, she will choose her time and cry out her claim. She offers her anger to her art, her cause, her community, resulting in a rallying song of change. A witch pours her rage into her creativity, advocacy, and commitment. She's also willing to peck out and devour rage against her own self through the radical wings of self-forgiveness. Whew. Yeah, what stuck out to me was this settling into a position of power, right? This is getting cozy on the throne. We have no control over who enters our kingdom, over who shows up at our throne. We do have all of our power and all of our awareness in the discernment of how we use what is being brought to us, what is being shown to us. It's interesting because yesterday we received the suffering and silence card in reverse in the union energies, and today it came out sideways for the divine feminines. So for me, what's coming up is this energy that we are able to experience pain, experience suffering, and receive it, stand in directly in the line of fire and receive what is being shown to us without it swallowing us whole. One of my greatest works in this life as an empath was to learn how to hold the world's suffering without being consumed by it. I think that's every empath's goal. And so it's very interesting to me that divine feminines are touching this power, maybe for the first time, maybe for the millionth time, but the work is still the work. Divine feminine energy is aligning with purpose. They are at this crossroads where there is no wrong choice here. Either way, either direction you choose is the storm, and you will be called to do the work despite your decisions. The work will find a way. It's like water slipping through the cracks of a mountain. Water always finds a way through, right? Water always finds a way to express itself. The same goes for feminine emotion. It doesn't matter how much it gets suppressed. It finds a way to work itself through and out of the psyche. You're being called, divine feminines, to proceed, be seen, and push through all adversity. Again, some of you, and this is in the unconscious, some of you, again, are failing to recognize how much divine support and protection you have at this time. Lean on your spiritual practices, because that is what is going to help you break through. You know, it's so wild. This energy is so potent. It's ping-ponging between my temples and my third eye. It just feels such a so much pressure. I'm struggling to find the words because there's so much moving. So bear with me. This is going to be a very slow reading, so feel free to listen at 2 times speed. I totally get it. Divine Feminines, we are again being called to drop into this deeper discernment. We are being called to caretake any sort of reactional energy, any sort of activations or dysregulations. During this process, we are hold on. By rising up to meet this darkness, this adversity, we are stretching the soul. We are stretching the self, actually, to hold more soul. We are calling home any fragments of self by coming back into this wholeness, by staring the storm in the face. We are accessing this internal revolution. We are able to sustain this internal revolution. I'm being reminded of that story about buffaloes, how buffaloes are the only, actually, I don't know if this is true. Don't fact check me on this, but the story goes something that the buffaloes are one of the few animals that don't flee when a storm is coming or flee and hide. Buffaloes turn into the storm and they push their way through because they know that if there's a storm happening where they are, there is not a storm happening on the other side of where they are. So there's this buffalo spirit that's coming through of turning into the storm, turning into the pain, turning into the darkness. Very specific message here coming for some of you that I don't know how to approach this message. I am not defeated by this reading, but holy moly, it's just so dense. There's a message here that some of you have deeply suffered within your own psyche. And I would dare to say all of us have suffered in our psyche at some point in time. You know, we all have addictions of the heart and of the mind that we are called to tend to called to this higher mystical sobriety, right? It doesn't matter what type and what flavor of chaos that is happening within the psyche. We are still being called. Such random messages coming through. Excuse me for the chaos, but wow. Another message here specifically is do not compare yourself to others, divine feminines. Do not compare, especially your psychic journey. Do not compare or shame yourself if you are struggling in the dark. You are called to darkness because you have been chosen to navigate the dark. This pain is actually a vote of confidence from the divine. You've been gifted something that other people can't handle. And I try very hard to tread carefully and not glorify pain, because it's a very fine line, right? We have to honor the truth of our pain, not someone else's, fairy tale, not someone else's image of balance, image of success, image of worth. We are being called to tune into self first, to not look outside of self for this energy. We're being called, oh God, there's all this love and compassion in the unconscious. Where is your love, divine feminine? Where is it? Does it include love of self? That's a really big message here. Again, our mission and purpose and service is incomplete, and we will not be able to get very far unless that love and compassion and empathy includes ourself. This was interesting. The message yesterday felt more about boundaries regarding the external world, but today these feel like divine feminines, you're being called to be mindful of the boundaries you set for yourself. We've got this message several times in the last few weeks around it may be time to go on a vision quest. It may be time for you to take a walkabout. Allow your mind to wander. Allow yourself to enter your dark night. And in that space, you are called to trust in your boundary setting abilities. This was another message from yesterday. We have to trust that we can make boundaries in real time as the situation is unfolding. And that can be really scary because most of us who have had traumatic situations where we didn't have boundaries in place, we want to get ahead of the curve and plan for these experiences. But that is not how life works. We have to be able to be fluid and to be on the move and carry our boundaries with us and allow them to ebb and flow as the world around us ebbs and flows. Again, we're coming into balance in this elemental way in the world around us, right? The nature always prevails, right? No matter what crazy storm wipes out nature or what man-made terrible thing affected nature or killed nature, nature will always prevail. And it is that resilience and that ability to flex with the present moment that allows that ensures their survival. In all of this density of this reading, there's this one very sweet card, this fairies card. Another way to look at this ever prevailing Mother Gaia, this ever prevailing Mother Nature, is to allow yourself to also be consumed by nature. And in that consummation, in that infinite union with nature, do you get to surrender and allow this enchanting experience to wash over you? And then you can access this divine surrender and joy and playfulness. There's a certain preciousness in knowing that nature will consume you, right? Nature will consume us. If we didn't treat our dead bodies with so many chemicals and put ourselves in boxes, nature would consume us. We would be one quite literally with the microbiome of the flora and the fauna. Oh, that is deeply moving to me. And I just saw this beautiful woman here, and she, I didn't even notice this until after I said it, but she's among all of these beautiful flowers, and the flowers are kind of growing into her hair. Let me hold it up. And she has this heart with an eye in it, this all-knowing, the knowing of oneness and holding that love. Whew. I was not expecting this reading. We're not even halfway through it. There's so much here. Bear with me, guys. You know, it's funny. This was so dense and so heavy and so dark that I almost considered not doing it. And I thought, well, who the heck am I to make that judgment? This isn't up to me. This is just what's moving through me. Okay. Yeah, you know, okay. Let's just shift the energy. We are being empowered and called to face this stuff head on by allowing these awarenesses to move through us. It allows us to sharpen our vision. This also allows us to release any denser energies, anything that's exuding from our lower self, right? It's the leftover debris from our lower selves. We're struggling to let go. Feminines, we have the let go of expectation card in reverse. Sometimes we have expectations because we don't feel that we are enough on our own. We don't feel that a situation is enough on its own, right? We put so many external hoops for ourselves and people to jump through. What would life look like without the expectations? What would life get to look like without the expectations? Sorry, I'm just seeing the word freedom blasting in my head like flashing lights. What would it look like to be that free? To be that free to just focus on the present moment and caretake what is directly in front of you. We're being called to acknowledge this responsibility of self. We are being called to use our voice, to wield our sacred gifts in a way that honors truth, that expresses our deepest truth. So my eyes are pinballing back and forth between this masculine twin card and this healing abandonment wounds in reverse. Divine feminines, it is time to forgive. It is time to forgive your masculine. It is time to forgive your inner masculine. It is time to forgive the parts of you that put yourself in situations that you should not have been in or didn't want to be in or caused more trauma for you to be in. It is time to forgive all the parts of self, the naive parts, the bossy parts, the controlling parts, the manipulative parts, the unconscious parts. This is probably the hardest work we'll have to do in this life, this work of forgiveness. And oftentimes than not, those that we struggle to forgive in the external world are a mirror that reflect back to us the parts of self that we struggle to forgive. What is on the other side of this release? What is on the other side of releasing expectations and healing all abandonment wounds? Well, what's on the other side is home. Mission accomplished, welcome home. It's a really beautiful message, but it is in the unconscious. This feels like one of those therapy sessions where it's really great and you're glad it happened, but it's so exhausting and it takes every ounce of you just to survive it. It feels very much like that we're carving our way through molasses. That's how the energy feels. It's like I'm trying to read, but through molasses. It's so slow and thick and dense, and it's hard to breathe. It's hard to figure out which way is forward and which way is backwards, what is up, what is down. It's so intense. Yeah, what's on the other side of healing forgiveness and abandonment wounds is this renewal. Oh, you can't see it. Hold on. Is this renewal. The renewal is in the unconscious. And what's under renewal? Expectations. Wow. It's perfect. It's perfect. Okay, switching gears a little bit, we also have the dreams in reverse. We have let loose and success. The visual I just got was being able to dance on your own grave. I don't know why that came through, but that visual and that phrase, we are working towards holding our center for love of self and other in any and all flavors of chaos. And that includes death, real death, metaphorical death, alchemical death, spiritual death. Let me show you this card. There's this Let Loose Mardi Gras card. And I am called to remember in New Orleans, they have such sacred and beautiful rituals around death. They have like parades where everybody dances in the street and there's music. I'm getting emotional because your parts, no matter how fallible they are, were worthy of love. Even if they screwed up, even if they kept making the same mistakes, even if they caused profound suffering for others and yourself, those parts of you were real and were born into your life and deserve an honorable send-off. There's something here about death rituals. I don't know if any of you are versed in that, but yeah, I invite you to create a death ritual for all the parts of self that have run their course. It feels important to have some sort of ritual to mark this occasion, to allow the release of this lower self. You know, it's like I keep looking at this masculine twin energy and this vortex around this figure here with their heart chakra illuminated and this glowing auric field. You know, let's lean on some twin wisdom for 2 seconds. We have to remember that on this path of inner and outer union, this twin who we've projected our entire journey onto is a part of self. And so as you release your lower self, it also helps your masculine release their lower self. And this is your masculine, internal and external. So again, remember, always we're calling our spirit back to what shows up on our side of the street. We can only always be accountable for what's on our side of the street. We can never be accountable for what someone else's work is. We can't force it. We can't take control of it. It's not our work to do. All right, let me get some other cards. Whew, I'm hoping this energy shifts. Geez. Okay. Anything else Divine Feminines need to know about this sacred rage or blocks to releasing this rage, accessing and releasing all denser parts of self? What would support them in letting go of all expectations and calling home true self? Okay, we have Dazzling Charm. Yeah, you know, I'm going to put this actually near the fairies because there's this sweetness in how we can approach this work. That these sweet, precious, divine parts of self have this charisma, this I want to say Christed charisma, this Christ-like love, this Christ-like unconditional, bottomless pit of infinite love. Okay, let me leave that there. Let's get, okay. Oh, I have an itchy nose, excuse me. Okay, we have companionship. Giving someone your complete presence is an astonishing gift. That someone in this reading is your internal self, is the part of you that has felt unworthy and abandoned. We have expansiveness. Eternity is far more creative than the rigid, constrained, and exhausted ego, right? We're being called to allow these parts of the ego that are so guarded and overly guarding this work to go. Allow them to return to the infinite, return them to void space. We have extraordinary. There's a wild and impetuous uniqueness to you that deserves to be honored. Aho. Flow. Allow me, divine, to move with the flow and respond with calmness and peace. Remember, our only responsibility is to choose the next kindest step for self in the present moment. Just be here now. That's it. We have inner power. give me the courage and the power to do what must be done. What I'm getting off of this card is this sacred rage. When they burn forests and fields to help the flora and fauna of the earth, it like helps the nature regenerate. There's something here about intentionally lighting that fire. Lighting that fire and allowing it to burn off what no longer is serving your highest and best good. Again, we have allowing. Radical acceptance says yes to reality in any given moment, so what's needed can come next. Energetic clearing. During crisis, the Holy One herself may be emptying you of fear and attachments, preparing you to receive her luminous plan. That's another thing with death rituals. We are creating space. Every time we say goodbye to something, we make space to say hello to something else. Let's get some Cosmic Journey cards. Okay, Spirit, anything else? We have your greatest work, your legendary legacy. I feel like we keep getting the same cards. We have ancestors in reverse. So calling you to lean on your ancestors, whether you know who they are or not. And again, we're being called to cut away what is no longer needed. Amen. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I need to go recover. I am assuming you do as well. Please take care of self, rest, hydrate, eat nutritious food. When a part comes calling, answer the call. Be present in the moment. Be diligent. Be vigilant. Monitor your reactions and your responses to things. Have faith in knowing that by doing this difficult work, you are calling back home all fragments of self. Thank you for being with me on this crazy ride. See you in the next one.